This is great, Tammy, that you mentioned your Padlet. You might have a few more links to add on there. We're just to kind of get this out of the way, we're going to share a Google Doc with you. It has all the links, resources that I talk about today, any activities we're doing on other sites, so that you don't have to keep looking for things in the chat and scanning a QR code. So please feel at ease that you don't have to be saving links and running around. We've got it all there for you to reference after today. It's going to be available until the end of today, so I invite you to download it so that you have a copy. So my name's Yesenia, and I'm a project coordinator here at the Ohio Statewide Family Engagement Center. My work mostly centers around supporting English learners, multilingual families, and I come to this work with some lived experience. And early on in my education, I was considered an English learner until I tested out. My niece, whose parents are a mix of first generation and second generation immigrants, is also going to be an English learner when she starts school soon, and my nephew as well. I also heavily focus on supporting immigrant and Latino communities in my dissertation work and just in my own personal life. And joining me today is Wesley from our team.
Good morning, excuse me. Good morning, everyone. My name is Wesley Owens. I am a research associate here at the Statewide Family Engagement Center. Basically, that means I just do some research and I also help design learning experiences like this one that we're doing today, both online and in-person experiences. Prior to joining the team here, I was an educator, a teacher in the classroom myself as a physical education teacher for grades K through 8 for several years, and then following that, I was an enrollment coordinator and community liaison for the same school. But this is my second year now with the center. Glad to be with the center. I'm glad to be with you all here today. And just to give you a little bit more about our center, if you're not aware, we're a leader in the field of family, school, and community engagement. We're located in the Center on Education and Training for Employment, which is a translational research center within the College of Education and Human Ecology at The Ohio State University. It's our goal to bring research to action by providing schools, families, and community partners with the tools they need to work together so all children have success in learning and life. And there you can see a picture from a recent staff retreat we had here in the Columbus region.
So before we go any further, I just wanted to clarify some common terms that you may hear. So and some of you may already be aware, so I know I'm speaking amongst experts here, but just for anyone who might be new to some of the terms I'm using today, um, broadly speaking, students who are learning English and their families have a wide variety of experiences and backgrounds. The term English learner is often used in reference to federal and state guidance around the obligations that schools have to students who are learning English as a new or another language. And often English learners are students who have, as you know, are not proficient, have not scored a proficient score on the English language proficiency tests that we talk about so much. But at the same time, it's important to consider that our students are just much more than that, right? They come with linguistic and cultural assets that we often overlook because we're just focused on what they don't know or what they're growing in. So for me, the term multilingual learner encompasses all of the complexities and the nuances that our students come with, and the fact that many times our students are actually speaking two other languages at home. So you'll hear me and Wesley use the term multilingual learners predominantly throughout the presentation today, but and we're cognizant that the term multilingual learner also includes students who are English learners or considered English learners. So we're going to start today we've already started, so thank you, Tammy. We already started seeing where folks are coming from today, but we're going to go to Mentimeter here to talk a little more. So the way you can get there is by scanning the QR code you see on the screen or in your web browser type or clicking the link in the chat. You can also go to menti.com and enter the code you see on the screen. We're going to ask you to share your role and where you're coming from today. We could be brief on that. I know we already started doing that. And then we're going to rate our level of experience with engaging with multilingual families. Then we are going to just create a word cloud of like what words come to mind when we think about the topic we're discussing today, which is engaging multilingual families. So give you a moment to get in there. I'm looking in the chat for any questions or issues that may pop up as you head over to Menti. So thank you, Wesley. We've got some responses coming in. Claudia Vasquez is here. We've got some EL teachers, ESL coordinator. Thank you, Vanessa. ESL teacher, Samantha here. We had folks, the director of student services. Hello, Asia. We've got another director of student services. Kristen is a K through 12 EL teacher. We've got a healthy mix of folks in the room today from different parts of Ohio. Thank you for sharing. And some of you, I saw your responses in the Zoom chat, so thanks for typing again. So if you had to rate yourself on a level of 1 to 5, 5 being an expert, where would you rate yourself and your experience working and partnering with multilingual families? Thanks for being here. Whether you're a beginner, whether you are kind of in between, or if you consider yourself an expert and you're being humble today and not putting in that 5, I appreciate you being here with us today. It can be uncomfortable to try to learn something new, to kind of go out of your comfort zone, but I invite you to honor that and just give yourself some grace as we are all learning here, no matter our level. We also have something new to learn, right? Got a nice kind of bell coming through here, bell-shaped curve here. All right, I think we have about the same responses as before, Wesley. We can get on to the next slide. So just brainstorming here. Words. What words come to mind when you think about engaging multilingual families? It could be any words, positive, negative, um, whatever comes to mind. Awareness. Love that. Inclusion. Communication barriers, definitely. Challenging. Adaptation. Support. Challenging, important, inclusion. Multiple modes for communication, community, culture. Yes. Communication, humility, and compassion. I appreciate your responses. It's like, although it's challenging, it's important. And it's about community. It's kind of like how I'm going to summarize that. Thank you all. Understanding content. Yes. All right. Well, thank you to everyone who responded to our Mentimeter. We'll be using this Mentimeter one last time further down in our presentation today, later on.
All right, yeah, thank you for your participation there. We're going to ask you to continue being engaged with us today as we collaborate together here in just a moment. We know that everyone being students, families, teachers, and staff. Everyone benefits when families and schools work together. But why might that be difficult, or why might it feel impossible sometimes? What barriers are there that are preventing schools from working with multilingual families? We would love to give you some time to discuss this together. So we're actually going to divide into groups here, into breakout rooms, with about 3 or 4 people. And we are asking that in your group, together you identify the barriers that you and others experience when engaging with multilingual families. We're going to give you about 5 minutes to talk about this and discuss it. And then after that 5 minutes, we'll come back together as a whole group. And we'd love to have someone from each group share out kind of like a summary of what you were speaking about. We do ask that when you're in your group together, that that you're engaged, that you're there, you're participating, that we're respectful to each other, so we're listening, and we're honoring others' voices and differences and experiences and opinions, and just making sure that everyone has a chance to share.
All right, so I'm creating those breakout rooms and opening them up.
So again, you're going to discuss what barriers do schools face when engaging with multilingual families.
And we'll be here if you have any questions or issues getting into your rooms. You should see a prompt on your screen that asks you to join a room. You can click join and it will take you to your breakout room. Right now we are in the main room and you are not yet in the breakout room if you are still hearing my voice.
Jessica, Nathan, and Abby, if you are just coming back to your desk after being called away, please follow the prompt to go to a breakout room. Drink caffeine every time we're muted and keep talking.
Yeah.
Wesley, you might need to talk a little bit louder. Your voice is coming through a lot softer. Oh, here's Abby. Must have gotten booted out.
Really? Okay, I'll try to speak up louder. Not sure why it's not coming through.
Hi, Abby, welcome back. You have a prompt to join a breakout room.
I can also send you in if that's helpful. Oh, they're connecting to audio. They might not have heard us. Hi, Abby. If you're just coming back, we can help you get into a breakout room and anyone else who may be coming back to their desk.
Hi. When I tried to join my breakout room, it just said it wouldn't allow me, and then it booted me out. So I don't
Oh
know.
no, so
Yeah.
sorry. Here, let's try again. Well,
Okay.
Wesley, how much time do we have?
We still got we're at 2:40,
Okay.
so we're just halfway.
Let
Here, I'll try to,
me,
I've got it pulled up.
maybe.
I'll try to put her in room 5.
Yeah, that's what I was
All
thinking.
right, we'll try again, Abby. Thanks
Okay.
for coming back.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm hitting join.
Thank you.
Okay, it still says she's not joined.
I think that's this second one.
Oh, is that, okay.
Yeah, there's like two Abbeys in here.
And we definitely have people who are outside of our region, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The advantage to Zoom is you can, cast a wider net.
Mm-hmm.
Oops, I got somebody else coming in.
Yeah. Hi, Dolores. We had folks in breakout rooms, so they'll be joining back in. But in the meantime, Dolores, feel free to share where what your role is. Would love to learn a little bit more about you. And yes, thank you, Tammy. We had a Google Doc that has links to everything we're talking about today, so you don't have to worry about saving all of those as we go along. They're in that Google Doc. You can download it today, up to the end of today. So I invite you to do that. Oh, Parent Mentor. Yes, I love it. We have such a mix of folks. All right, in 1 minute, the breakout rooms will be closing, and we'll jump back into the main room with everybody else. We were just having folks talk about the barriers that schools face with engaging multilingual families. So you're welcome to, when we're all sharing out, you're welcome to share as well.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. So we had asked as a group that you would discuss what barriers schools face when engaging with multilingual families. And so now we're going to kind of share out and summarize what your group talked about. So what barriers did your group identify? And I'll just start with breakout room number 1. Who from that group can share with us what your group talked about?
I'll summarize what we talked about. So we're from obviously 4 different school districts, all playing different roles. Some of the commonalities were, again, communication with the families, but the populations are very different. So within one school district, I think it was mentioned, we have like 150, correct me if I'm wrong, 150 EL students, but about 30 different languages. I'm similar. I'm at Bowling Green City Schools and having the university right here. We're at about 18 different languages right now. Just having a lot of, graduate students coming and bringing their children. And so it's not just a one and done. It's very, very diverse within the multilingual aspect of it. And then also what's discussed is the backgrounds of those coming, being some refugees, but then also some, VIP or, CEOs of companies. Like you just have a very, very diverse group of individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Katie, for sharing that. Group number 2, who from group 2 will share with us what your group talked about?
I think that might have been our group. I'm not sure if that was, I'm not sure which group number I was in. We talked a lot about some of the apathy that we experience with some of our families and our students. We talked about the fact that sometimes they don't necessarily want to come for help, and all we can do is make ourselves available to them and try our best to let them know that we're there. We're willing to reach out and get the resources that they need. You know, but it's sort of a two-way street, and it's sort of hard to meet them halfway when we don't necessarily know their needs.
Mhm. Thank you, Kristen. Group 3.
Good morning. I will share for group 3. We talked about the barriers being the teacher relationship building, not knowing cultures from the newcomers that are coming to our district. Also, the need for after school hours for communication with families who are working long hours and how to do that. So we discussed a resource for that. And just the not knowing their culture and just needing to spend time and research to build those relationships for learning.
Thank you. We got 2 more groups to share out here. Group 4. There's just 2 of you in that group.
So I'll share for group 4. We did talk about a lot of the things mentioned, specifically language barrier. There was a big difference. There were only 2 of us in our group, and there was a big difference. The school district of the other person was, they only have 2 EL students, and then we have close to 100 in our district. So it was definitely different. But at the same time, some of the same obstacles or barriers. And I would say the biggest ones are the language barriers and then just the cultural differences. And then also I would add with our district, just some of the, I guess what you would call like resettlement challenges that come with moving from a different country and maybe not even having any formal education in their previous country, and then entering not just this new environment, but a whole new like educational system as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. And then the last group, group 5.
So we discussed, we have in my school district is more Arabic speaking individuals, refugees. We have quite a few. I teach at 2 different high schools here, so we do have support at both. However, sometimes like last year in the student had more success coming to me for me, like reading the question to him. He was only learned the English language for 1 year, so he could speak it, but sometimes reading it was difficult. And then with our other individuals in the group, they had some issues with getting some support for Spanish-speaking students. So, but they've come to terms and gotten that taken care of. So hopefully they're moving forward from there.
Thank you, David. Thank you to all of you for sharing those. Lots of different barriers that we've identified as a whole group. And hopefully by the end of today's session, after we talk about some resources that we're going to share with you, you'll have some ideas and some steps to take towards what we call building a bridge to those barriers.
And Wesley, if I could just jump in very quickly. We do have another contribution in the chat from Dolores. She says, I have a lot of families mention to me that even though the information they receive is in Spanish, they often still don't understand some of the content. So thank you, Dolores.
Yeah, thank you. All right, well, here's our agenda for the meeting going forward here. So we kind of got things started off, but here's what we're going to be learning and going through today. We're going to look at our objectives, so what we are going to learn and tackle today. We'll give a little bit about what family engagement is. We're going to share with you a new tool. It's called the Core Competencies reflection tool. So the National Assembly for Family, Schools, and Community Engagement Association has developed these core competencies. So we're going to look at those and give a little practice to that. And then we're going to share some resources and strategies with you that can help you with the barriers that we've talked about this morning. Well, here are, excuse me, here are the learning objectives for today. I can use the core competencies reflection tool to reflect on current family engagement practices. I can use resources and strategies to improve family engagement, and I can connect the resources and strategies that I learned to the core to the family engagement core competencies. Okay, so what is family engagement? I'm sure many of us have had some experience with family engagement strategies and tools. Just to give brief synopsis of what it is. Family engagement involves families, education programs, and community partners working together to help children and youth learn, grow, and prepare for their future. What does it look like? Well, partnerships include, and this is not an exhaustive list, but communicating with families in the preferred language, involving families in decision making, valuing and leveraging family strengths, connecting families to community resources. Those are just a few examples of what family engagement looks like. I'd love to hear from you all in the chat if you want to share some examples of what family engagement looks like. What is your understanding or what are your experiences? Yes, two-way communication. So it's not just the school communicating, but we're listening to families. Thank you. And you can continue to share in the chat as we continue on. Family engagement is important because, simply put, every student deserves a quality education. But also, when we work together well, everyone benefits, including teachers, students, and families. And we had a few more in the chat there. So being involved in the education of the students, being active, participating, connecting families with each other. Yes, thank you. And now we're going to introduce the core competencies to you. So Yesenia is going to share what these are, how they're used, and we're going to practice them.
Yes, and as a reminder, before you frantically try to Google the title of those competencies and find them, they will be in the Google Doc that we shared at the beginning today. Some of you may have joined a little later. We'll definitely be sharing that link again, so you'll get it. So you'll have that resource to reference. Basically, so while there are other existing standards that stress the importance of having family engagement competencies, these standards are typically aligned to roles within specific fields or organizations, or to particular points in children's development, most frequently in the early childhood years. So the family engagement core competencies were developed to fill gaps in educator preparation programs across the United States. The core competencies were developed by the National Association of Family, School, and Community Engagement and other partners to outline the knowledge, practices, and dispositions of family-facing professionals. The competencies are organized into 4 domains. A lot of the examples that you gave in the chat could fit into one of these, and they are reflect, connect, collaborate, and lead. The practices surrounding each domain are aligned with equitable family engagement with all families. So, to bring the ideas of the core competencies to life, our center partnered with the National Association of Family, School, and Community Engagement to develop the Family and Community Partnerships Reflection Tool for family-facing professionals to facilitate self-reflection and discussion around family and community engagement practices so that folks can think more specifically about the ways that they can engage with families around these 4 domains that I mentioned before. The reflection tool is also organized around the 4 domains: reflect, connect, collaborate, and lead. And each domain has a set of items or kind of prompts that you can respond to and rate yourself within the categories of beginning, developing, skilled, and accomplished to access to kind of reflect on your current family engagement practices. So today you're going to practice rating yourself on these items. And because of time constraints, we're going to focus on the connect domain. This domain is all about how family-facing professionals connect with families and communities. So they build trusting relationships with families based on mutual respect and understanding. Family-facing professionals also actively connect to the wider community in which families live in order to better understand and know the community and its resources. And as one person wrote in the chat, this can also include connecting families to each other within the same or different districts. So it's all about facilitating connections to resources and supporting the growth of social networks. Before we jump into that activity, I'm going to talk a little bit about each of the ratings so you know kind of what each might look like. And I want to say one is not better than the other. We obviously want to reach a point where we're at our top of our game, but we're all learners here, and you might have a lower score on one item and a higher score on another. But if you were to rate yourself at the beginning stage, there may just be a need for more learning and understanding or practice around that item. Sometimes folks may just have kind of a deficit-based view of families and focus only on what they don't have or what they can't do, instead of looking at the strengths that families come with. They might look at family engagement as a one-way street. The school just sends things out to the family, and we don't think about how we can kind of create two-way communication. And another example is family engagement may be seen as something that you have to do to check off a box for compliance purposes, and something that you just do here and there in a way that is school-centric. So the next rating, developing. If you were to rate yourself in this category on any of the items, this may be someone who acknowledges the critical role that parents and caregivers play in their child's learning. They may be starting to understand the reciprocity that's involved in family and community engagement, maybe moving away from more deficit-based attitudes and starting to situate their work beyond just school mandates and processes and looking more at how can we support families just overall. So for the skilled rating on any given item, it may mean that the professional is considering new ideas, looking for ways to grow and test new approaches. You're starting to see families as partners who are actively contributing to their child's success. They would recognize the strengths and assets of families, and they may be starting to develop parent and family engagement and family leadership as a more strategic approach, something that's very intentional and thought through very well, rather than just having kind of one event or a few events randomly across the year. And if someone were to rate themselves in the accomplished category, that could mean that they are using a very deeply reciprocal model of family engagement, and they're actively leveraging the strengths and assets that families bring. And they may also be working and building authentic relationships with families and communities and creating multiple opportunities for family and community engagement. So maybe it's like doing those things after school hours, or kind of balancing parents' working schedules, for example. And you may be including parents in decision-making roles, or for example, parent groups, right? So with that said, I know that's an earful. There are actually 10 items in the connect domain. I'm not going to make you go through every single one of those for time reasons. So we're going to focus on 4 of them. As you see on the screen, that's kind of what it looks like when you download the tool. We're going to focus on items 6 through 9 today. So I invite you to review the other domains and items after our session today, but we're going to practice with just a few on Mentimeter here. So just like before. Oh, I'm sorry, the items are up here, but we're going to go through them so you'll get to read them again. Just like before, sorry, Wesley, I'm taking your spot. I'm just going to talk it through. We're going to do the same. It's actually the same link as before. You're going to go to menti.com or to the link in the chat. And yeah, we're going to go to Mentimeter, use the link, or go to menti.com, enter the code. We also have the QR code on the screen. And we will get that up for you so we can walk through this together. I just want to acknowledge Wesley's amazing skills at multitasking and running the slides. So thank you, Wesley.
You're welcome. So right now there is the prompt that you'll rate yourself to. It says supports communication with families whose languages they do not share using interpreters, electronic language translation, and other tools. So how do you feel that you are with this one? And when you think about you can think about you and your team, your school.
Yeah.
But where are you with this one here? Beginning, developing, skilled, accomplished.
And then Wesley, could you share that Mentimeter with us? I mean, show it to us.
Oh, yep, I meant to have that question up there, sorry.
No worries.
Okay.
And yes, your response can go in the Mentimeter.
Okay. Do we want to look at those responses now?
Sure.
Okay. Looks like everyone has
Oh, great.
answered there. So I will just kind of show where we are as a group here.
Mm-hmm. Very nice.
Okay, let's go on to the second one here. Creates environments in person and virtually that are welcoming and foster and embrace diverse cultures of families. Okay, it looks like results have slowed, so we'll go ahead and look at these and see where we are as a group. So that one we have more developing.
Mm-hmm.
Next one, becomes aware of and develops relationships with community and cultural organizations to connect families to learning and community resources.
Wesley, my screen says that you need to change, the presenter hasn't changed the slides yet. on my Menti? Am I the only one that's having that issue?
You might be, because
Okay.
others have answered. So
Okay.
maybe
And I see it.
refresh.
Oh, there it goes. Yep,
'Cause
refreshing worked.
here's where we are on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So most of us are beginning and then developing. Okay, and oh, I think I skipped one.
Let's see.
Let me see if I can go back.
No, I think. Did you do negotiates differences? It's the first one.
I don't think so. Let's see here.
There we go. There it is. Sorry, I missed that, Wesley.
Right there. Negotiates differences with humility and an openness to change and learn. Okay, looks like pretty much in. So on this one, a little bit more spread out here, developing to the most.
Well, thanks for everyone for responding. As you can see, like I mentioned before, you may be an accomplished on one item, skilled in another, or beginning. So it really just there's just different practices and strategies that we can use to support families. And depending on our dispositions and our background, we may have, an easier time doing some than others, but we're always learning, so it's okay to not be perfect, right?
That's right. So we thank you for engaging with us so far. And we want to give you a break at this point. So you're free to step away for a moment. And we will be back, what, 9:10?
Mm-hmm.
How's that
Sounds
sound?
good. Yep. Please, you'll be happy to come back because we'll be sharing a few more resources and strategies after the break. But after all this reflection and probing and asking, want to give you a moment to take a break, grab some water, and we'll see you back here at 9:10.
Thank you for including all of these resources. If I'm looking back and forth, it's I'm adding all the resources to the Padlet. So they're up
Yeah.
and ready for people to
Thank you, Tammy.
access. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking about myself as like a attendee, and I'm always like, oh my gosh, like messaging, like emailing myself the end, then they all get lost. So
Yeah,
that'd be an
no,
easy way.
I'm totally stealing this idea for future meetings. Because it is nice to have everything. I usually put it on a Word doc for myself to just be able to click through them and add, pull them up. So I'm not looking for everything, but why not share it with everybody else?
Yeah, and then I feel like, at least me, the way I am, I get into rabbit holes, and I'm like, wait, I'm at this presentation, like
Yeah.
I get lost. Yeah, I get too excited about all the links.
did an EL actually it was the attendance presentation I did a couple days ago. I really appreciate all of those attendance letters that are on your website and all of the different languages that you have translated them into. So thank you so much.
Oh, I love it. You're so on it. That we put that on our website like maybe 2 weeks ago, maybe a week ago. So,
Well,
yes,
it
we
has already been shared out with at least one school, so.
Oh, thank you. You know, now that we're talking, I'm gonna send you individually here another link that you might like on your pad. I'll mention it during the presentation, but gonna share that
That'd be
here
great.
with you, Tammy. Lots of recordings on some PD around this topic.
Awesome, thank you. Oh, yeah, at the summit.
Yeah, it also aids in providing families with culturally sensitive support and guidance. And I read through that quickly, but just want to reiterate this research brief has these principles, and for each principle, we provide a general overview and hopefully some helpful examples of how each of these principles could look in practice. So, as some of you may already have heard about or know, our team and others in our building at the Center on Education and Training for Employment at Ohio State, we partnered with the Department of Education and Workforce to create resources for educators and families specifically focused on supporting students who are considered English learners. Just before I keep talking about this here, please feel free to share in the chat, or if any of you already know about these resources. So let me know, but I'll keep telling you a little bit more. So the Family Roadmap is written for families and has information on various education topics. That with the goal to support family and school partnerships. It's available currently in 8 languages, including English, Arabic, Dari, Nepali, Spanish, Swahili, and Ukrainian. If I achieved anything in that project, it was memorizing that list. So we're actually in the process of working with the department to expand the languages it's available in, notably French and Haitian Creole. And so we're looking into that. Another resource, and yes, I saw a couple of thumbs up, thank you. Another resource is the Administrator Resource Kits, which provides information on federal requirements and guidance to help school leaders create culturally responsive school environments. And finally, we have the Instructional Roadmap, which provides evidence-based guidance for English learners' development. All of this work was informed by parents, community leaders, and school professionals who looked at various pieces throughout the development process of these resources. So we included parents and community leaders in all of the work here. So we have a few folks who have heard of it. Thank you. So the thing about me is this was my baby for like a year and a half. So I can talk a lot about it. So to save you from that, I'm just going to play the welcome video that's available in the Family Roadmap resource so that can give you a nice overview instead of me talking forever.
Welcome. We are glad that you have chosen Ohio as your home. When families and schools work together, students of all ages do better in school. In Ohio, families are encouraged to work with their child's school to support their success. We have created this Family Roadmap as a guide to help families learn about Ohio schools, especially families with children who are learning English as a new language. This roadmap can help your family understand how to communicate with your child's school from kindergarten through high school. Even though schools can be different from one community to another, this roadmap will give you a good place to start. You will learn about how Ohio schools support students and the English language supports available. In this roadmap, you will also find information about enrolling your child in an Ohio school, the rights you and your child have for education, using interpreters and translators, and also information about the different people at the school and how they can help your child and your family. This roadmap will also share information about how you can learn about your child's progress with learning English and other subjects like history, math, and science. You will also find checklists, examples of questions you can ask, and videos. In Ohio, schools are a place where children also make new friends and learn from others. All year long, schools offer kids of all ages opportunities to explore their interests in the arts, sports, and different career and college options. Students who are learning English as a new language have all of these opportunities and more in Ohio schools. This roadmap will share information about resources and programs that can support your child to learn and grow both inside and outside of the school day. Other resources have also been developed to help school leaders, principals, and teachers support your family and your child. At the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce, we want your child to receive the education and opportunities to reach their best and brightest future. You can work together with your child's school so that your child can reach their goals. We hope this roadmap is helpful to you along the way.
All right, so you got a 2-minute overview instead of a 30-minute overview from me. We're going to take some time to explore the family roadmap. If you've already looked through it in the past, we invite you to look again. And so as you explore the family roadmap, we want you to think about resources you would share with families, resources you might share with your colleagues or folks that you work with, and if you know any resources you would like to learn more about. So we're going to give you about 10 minutes max to review on your own, and then we'll have 5 minutes to discuss in breakout rooms. To help you kind of keep your thoughts in one place, we created a note catcher that you can use. You can download and make a copy for yourself. We're going to put the link in the chat, but we also have the QR code on the screen to the note catcher. And the family roadmap you can access using the QR code on the screen. I'm going to type a short Go link in here as well that I forgot to include. go.osu.edu/family roadmap will take you. Just a note about the link I just put in the chat to the family roadmap. It takes you first to our website, and that's on purpose because on our website we also have in blue writing, we have the languages listed, and when you click on that language, you actually can download a flyer about the family roadmap in that language that you're welcome to download, print, and have in your building in case you want families to be aware of the resource. So again, we're going to take some time here individually, take a look at the family roadmap, explore, read, judge, criticize. I'm open to feedback. But yeah, take some time to look, and then we will go into breakout rooms to discuss. And we'll let you know when it's time for the breakout rooms. Any questions? Let me know. We're here for that as well. And sorry, y'all. We're playing with the time here. This is our first time kind of playing with how long do folks need to take to look at something like this. So if you finish before the 10 minutes, just let us know. And if more than us are done, if we're all done before the 10 minutes, we can move forward. Thank you. All right, everyone, as you're wrapping up, just a quick exploration here. We're going to start setting up some breakout rooms. Going in, we're going to be mixed up in a different group than you were earlier. So Wesley is gonna create the breakout rooms. Yeah.
Yep, those are ready for you. When you're in your room, just what you're going to talk about. You'll just name the resource that you looked at, who you would share it with, and any notes you have about it. So just kind of follow your guide there or your note catcher as to what to share in your room together. But those rooms are now open. You'll be there for about 5 minutes. I want to give us a minute to kind of share, a resource or two that you found and how you discussed or how you would use it. So what was your discussion in your groups? Would anyone like to share out like what resources you found, how you would use it? You can come off mute. This could be from anybody. I'm sure we were all looking at different resources here, but some of those could be helpful to others in the group. So
I can share.
Thank you.
Yeah. We didn't really get into a lot of specific resources other than just kind of talking about the tool overall. And none of us really knew that it existed. And I think that it would be an excellent thing to refer individuals to, because you can easily become overwhelmed with all of your district's procedures and the way your district goes about enrollment, for example, and you have so much information. It might be nice to refer families to this so that they can look that over and then maybe come back to you with some more specific questions in the things that maybe they are interested in or curious about. And I just think that it's a nice starting point for maybe a lot of the families.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. Yeah, so if you're looking at this for the first time, there's lots of things to look at in there. So take more time after this meeting to kind of go through that and look for what's going to be beneficial to you, your team, your school. Share that with your families so that you can communicate, connect. How can you help each other? Thank you. Anyone else want to jump in real quick and share?
Hello. I was looking at the English language supports at school, specifically where it says like the English language teacher and questions you should ask, like parents should ask the teacher. And I saw it more as yes, the parents can use this to ask, but also as a self-reflective. How are you going to answer these as a teacher? And not just the EL teacher, especially at the secondary level. How is the math teacher going to answer these questions? How are all the teachers going to respond? And if they don't have an answer for that, then we need to look into that.
Yes. I have thoughts about both of these, but so I'll hold that. But does anybody else have anything they want to share?
I mentioned that I looked at the glossary of terms, and I wonder if it would be a great thing to share with families who speak English, especially beginning families that are just coming into the educational system. we use so much education ease when we're talking with families. Would this help them understand, be a resource for all families in addition to multilingual families?
Yes, thank you, Tammy. So when we think about universal design, we do talk about how sometimes when we make resources for a specific purpose, it ends up helping so many more folks. So I agree with you on that. And when I list languages that this family roadmap is available in, I always say English because anyone who speaks English, any family that could benefit from this could definitely use it. And to the first comment about this being a starting point, that is how we wrote that with that idea in mind, that imagine me trying to write about what's happening in all the districts in Ohio and speak enough to that for each district to have a resource that is specific to the nuance. That would be difficult. So we had to balance the line of how can we write in a way that is universal enough to be relevant, to be helpful, but not too specific that someone might say, well, that doesn't apply to me. That doesn't apply to me, right? So agreed here. I think it's a great starting point for families. And that is why in this exercise, we had you think about what resources would you share with families? What resources would you share with colleagues? Because we see this as a way to co-design and learn together as a community, a school community, not just for families, but also for educators. So I really appreciate you all sharing those applications. It's definitely something that we were hoping would be a result of this work. So y'all are awesome. You're already thinking that way. So now that we looked through the family roadmap, I just want to talk a little more specifically about my little wheelhouse here of like writing for families. Because if there's anything that I learned along the way, it was many, many lessons about that. So when we think about connecting with families, of course, I know, and this is the question it keeps me up at night. I'm not kidding you. Thinking about translation and interpretation, it's so important, but it's also helpful to consider what the source language, how we are writing to families, period, right? And of course, especially when families, their first languages may not be English. So as we crafted the family roadmap, we took into consideration how we could make the resource welcoming, friendly, and accessible to families. I learned some lessons along the way that I could summarize using Todd Rogers' 6 principles of writing for busy readers. As you could see, there's actually 6 principles, and they include less is more, so keep our communications concise without overdoing it. When you look at the family roadmap, the first page is like an overview of every topic. So if somebody only read the first paragraph, at least was in theory, if somebody read the first paragraph on enrolling your student in Ohio, they would get something out of it, right? And so also designing for easy navigation. From that like very short overview, you can click learn more about enrolling your child in Ohio. And that is also thinking about designing so that it's easy for folks to navigate and get to the next page. And it's important to do that because, people often skim, right? So we want to make it easy for folks to find things and for it to be visually distinct. And we also want to emphasize why families should care. It can be helpful to make this clear early on in our communications. Sorry, one more point about designing for easy navigation. You want to make sure that the purpose is clear. You want to organize the content, make separate topics and ideas, and make your asks very distinct. So yeah, if you have any other examples of how you saw this being done in the family roadmap, feel free to share, but I'm going to talk about the other 3 principles briefly. This was my big one. You want to make reading easy. You want to use short, familiar words and brief, straightforward sentences. When we're talking about families whose first language is not English, I used to tutor English learners, adult English learners as well. And yes, knowing Spanish was very helpful. But sometimes when you use analogies or idioms like sit up or things that don't translate directly into another language, it can be very confusing. We want to avoid, more confusion. So sometimes when I was tutoring and I used an analogy, my students would be more concerned with understanding the analogy and what that meant than the kind of the content that we were trying to discuss, right? So that's very important. And then when we're writing, we want to do that, but also we want to think about the readability. So we want to aim usually, at least the standard is like a 5th grade reading level when possible. And you want to use enough formatting, but not more. If you highlight everything and you underscore everything, it gets confusing, right? What's important? You want to bold or make visually distinct things that are very important, right? Not overuse it. And you want to make it easy to respond. So whatever ask you have or whatever the next steps are, you want to make it really easy for folks to do that. And you want to reduce the number of steps required to act. So yeah, and just the next slide here is just one small tidbit about checking readability. If you go to Word, if you have access to Microsoft Word and you look at the top ribbon, you see a tab that says Editor, and it's like a pencil. When you click on that, you'll see something that says Document Stats, and it'll pull up this readability statistics. You can Google what Fleisch reading ease and Fleisch Kincaid grade level mean, because I forget. But basically, I always look at the grade level and I try to aim for a 5th grade reading level. If you don't have Microsoft Word, there's a lot of online readability checks that you can Google. And when I looked, I don't think Google Docs has the feature. But like I said, there's a lot of resources online if you do a quick search. And I just want to share, this is in the Google Doc. So don't have to go to, don't worry about it. It's on there. When you go to Writing for Busy Readers, their website, they have a lot of information. They have an overview of the principles I just shared. Todd Rogers has a book. They have an AI tool to help with making emails more concise. You want to try that out to see if you like it. I only use it for more professional emails, not to families though. And they also have a reading ease calculator to check readability. Just wanted to point out that resource. And another resource around this topic of writing for families, the Massachusetts, I think it's the Massachusetts Family Engagement Center, has a Welcoming Families Communication Toolkit. Because we are limited on time, I would have loved to look through this with you all. But if you go to their website, which is also on the Google Doc, and you click on the craft tab, there is a page that says illustration, making documents readable. And they have a Google Doc that literally has 5 exemplars of the first draft, which is here on the screen, and it takes you through each draft and you can see how they've made it more readable, more easy to read, and you can even see how they've changed the reading level in each version. So I invite you to take a look at those resources when you have a moment.
All right, we are coming close to the end of our time here, but before we do end here shortly, we did want to come back to the groups that we met with in the beginning, because earlier we had talked about barriers. Now we want to talk about bridges. We've shared with you some of our resources. You've had some time to look at that family roadmap. So now we want to identify what are some bridges, those possible strategies or solutions for addressing the barriers that we identified earlier. We heard about there being language barriers and just, a whole lot of different languages in the school community, diverse backgrounds of, some immigrants are refugees, some are coming and they're professionals, and so there's just a diversity of the populations here. Not knowing the needs, not being, by not communicating, we don't know what people are in need of, and just things like having time to connect with each other. So those are things that we shared earlier. We're going to go back to the same groups, and I want you now in about 4 minutes to kind of share out what are some possible strategies or solutions for addressing those barriers. And then when we come back, we'll have about a minute or so to kind of share out some of those bridges now. So those rooms are open, and you can go ahead and join those and begin your discussion. Back, everyone. So we were just saying here to ourselves, we love that once the room closed, no one came back right away. It means good conversation is happening. So I'd love to hear from maybe 1 or 2 people quickly, maybe some bridges that you've identified to address the barriers that you spoke of earlier? Who would like to share briefly with us?
Hi, I would say like one of the biggest bridges is just having translation services and apps like Google Apps and like actual physical people to come in and help translate and speak with our families. I think that that's one of the biggest bridges that we have in our district.
Thank you, Abby. Yeah, so one bridge being translation services. Would one more like to share quickly?
I have one teacher here, our upper grades science, so bio, anatomy, that kind of stuff. We have a couple of students that are very low level English, and they are having problems with his class with the material because, biology is not the lightest subject when it comes to vocabulary and what have you. And he sends me now his weekly materials and has me translate. And I add in extra notes and stuff to help fill in some of the gaps that they may have missed prior to me doing all of this. So he'll give me all his, like, here's the structure of a cell PowerPoint, and I'm translating it so that he can print that off for them. Lecture in English, but they've got at least the Spanish to follow along to try and fill in some of the gaps if our translator can't be there to help them. So I'm trying to at least build some of the bridges for the students that need it in the specific classes.
Yeah,
We've only been doing this about 2 weeks, so I'm not sure how successful it's going so far.
Okay. Well, you're trying it, and we're grateful that you are doing that, and I'm sure it is providing some success. You're building a bridge there. Thank you for sharing that.
Why don't we go straight to if you just any thoughts about today or questions, please let us know. We're running really close to time, but we will be sharing our emails as well, so we can continue the conversation. I'll keep an eye on the chat. So Wes, we could just like run through really quickly of the resources. And yes, feel free to share in the chat if you have questions. We have a webinar coming up that's in the Padlet. It's going to be pretty similar to this one. So if you liked it, please feel free to share with colleagues and say, hey, here's this opportunity. And keep going. We have a newsletter for professionals in the Padlet, in the Google Doc that we're sharing. We also have a family newsletter. And we also have a lot of translated resources. The best way to keep up, because it changes a lot, is typing the language that you're interested in and just seeing what pops up. If it's Arabic, type Arabic. If you type a language and it's not there, it's probably because we haven't expanded yet to that language. So thank you so much for joining us today. Our website is there. And so, yeah, thanks for your time. We did a lot in a short time, so thank you. Just want to share the evaluation for today, Tammy. And yeah,
Yes.
for you all to complete.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We do have our second session on December the 4th. That one I will be presenting that one and talking about some educational evidence-based strategies to use with English learners in a typical classroom, in an ESL classroom. So that one, a little different focus, but honestly, these strategies are good for all kids. If you could take just a minute to fill out the evaluation, let us know what worked, what didn't work. We always want to make this the best we can for you. And I will be sharing those with Yesenia and Wesley. And have a fabulous day. Thank you for all you do for kids. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thanks for having us today.
Thank you so much for coming. You guys did an amazing job. Thank you for all your hard work in supporting educators and families who are supporting multilingual students.
Thank you.